It's my feel-good breakfast show.
Welcome back to your feel-good breakfast show. It's Expresso on S3. We are talking relationships, but not just any relationship. The new digital age has made it possible for people to create and build relationships similarly to the way we do it face-to-face. Now, the impact as well as the accessibility of the digital age has given rise to an increase in cheating rates within contemporary intimacies. Now, we've spent the first hour of our morning unpacking why people cheat.
Yeah, and you can hear people are smashing things. They're like, why did it happen to me? Well, we're going to delve a little deeper now into this very interesting topic this morning by focusing specifically now on cyber infidelity and how to heal from that trauma. We want to make this a practical step forward, not just sit within that traumatic space. And taking us through this is clinical sexologist, relationship expert, author, and good friend of ours, Marlene Wasserman, otherwise known as Dr. Eve, who specializes in cyber infidelity and intimacy trauma with an interest in contemporary intimacies and modern love, because she's a modern gal. And don't forget to join in on the conversation by sending us your WhatsApp voice notes, please. 063-408-8863. Dr. Eve, I can't tell you how happy it makes me to see your face. I didn't realize how much of our life plays out in this 1.5, and I've been thinking so much about you over this discussion this morning. It is so interesting. But I think let's start with the premise, because I'm realizing what one person considers infidelity is completely different. So how do we even
100%,
begin? What is cyber infidelity? Is it liking someone's nice picture, or is it a step beyond that?
Yeah, that's a great question. That is so true, because that's what trips couples up, is that they don't even know how to define it. So one of the first things I do in therapy is to ask, how would you define it? How would you define it? And usually both people have very different definitions of it. So what the clinical definition of cyber infidelity is if somebody who is in a committed, monogamous relationship gets online secretively without the knowledge of the other partner and begins engaging online, obviously that's the cyber part, with someone or many others. And they then get into any kind of connection, but the other person doesn't know about it. Right. So there are two things that I always ask somebody. If your partner had to see what you were doing online, would they define it as infidelity? And if the answer is, well, yes, I wouldn't, but yeah, he or she probably would, then, well, yeah. Then
therein lies your answer,
Therein lies your answer. And then the other thing is, as well, around what do you think is a secret or what do you think is private? Because a lot of people get tripped up with that as well. It's like, well, my device is my privacy. I don't have to share it with my partner. But maybe it is a secret. So, how do you feel about keeping a secret from your partner? Well, I don't really want to do that, but I also have privacy. So it becomes quite confusing. And then a lot of people justify it enormously. By saying, well, it's not that I had sex or anything, which was the byline of my book that I wrote in Cyber Infidelity. So they don't see it as any kind of cheating or betrayal because there hasn't been any physical touching.
I'm thinking about it, but I haven't acted on it.
Right, not only thinking. I mean, they're engaging, Graham. There's a deep engagement that happens. And what happens online, for all of us, is that it happens in a heartbeat, right? So it happens much quicker than if you were meeting somebody face to face. There's an instant engagement with somebody, and so you don't really think it's an infidelity because you're at home. Your partner could be in bed with you. You could be in the same car together, but you're chatting with somebody else, or you're sending...
Who's also sitting in their bed at home, in their most intimate space, and suddenly when you connect those dots,
And it happens quickly and very sneakily. It can be platonic until one of them just suddenly crosses that line, and you kind of have to ask yourself, well, where is that line? Now, Dr. Eve, we have a voice note WhatsApp line, and we have some that come through, and I want to participate in this conversation. And our first voice note is from Angela. Let's take a listen to it.
So I would say what I would consider cheating is everything that doesn't involve your partner. If your partner is doing something without you that he shouldn't be doing or she shouldn't be doing, that's being naughty and bad.
That's one.
Well, again, what's naughty and what's bad. And it's really interesting what Angela says, because there is a presumption in society that partners should do everything together.
Yeah.
You're hearing her say, he does something without you. Well, you know, what happens if he's playing golf without you, or he's kind of taking a race, running a race without you? Is that the same thing? And if he's chatting to somebody who's running the race next to him, would that be considered infidelity? So it depends on what people's definitions is. The difference is that the mobile device is absolutely available, accessible, anonymous, and affordable. That's what it's called, the AAA effect, to everybody. So it's a very different thing. And because of that, people don't believe that they're causing harm to their partner. So couples will sit in that, but I don't understand why, you know, he's so hurt, or I don't understand why she's so hurt. All I'm doing is I'm talking to somebody. And it could be, as you say, Graham, just liking or following somebody on Instagram. I hear a lot of that. Please follow me on Instagram, but tell your partner. So following on Instagram, people get crushes.
Follow me together. Follow me together. Both of you together at the same time. 3, 2, 1, follow and like.
Yeah, I mean, you know, you're looking for solutions. People say, how can I prevent it? Because you can't really prevent it. We are all liking and engaging with different people that we follow. What I say is share it with your partner, as you are saying. May not be at the same time, but it's like, hey, look what I found. I found Dr. X's profile. And that's what I find really interesting. So it's sharing, so the person is always in the loop of your life, which makes life more interesting in any case for a couple.
I think it'll help a lot to have that groundwork, have that conversation first with each other, because I think we kind of, the notion of what a relationship is changing so dramatically because of all of these digital tools and these spaces that we play in. So how has that image of a relationship shifted? What does a relationship look like now in this modern digital age?
So in my years of COVID, I was very productive and I began to study. And what I did was I studied trauma. And the reason why was because of my research into cyber infidelity, because I found that I did not have the tools to be able to cope with the enormous trauma that comes with when a person finds out there's infidelity that's happening. So in terms of what relationships look like today, I think they need to be a little different in that we shouldn't be focusing on something called communication, because we always say we need to communicate more. People talk, but they're not hearing or listening. So for me, I focus hugely with my couples on connecting. How do you connect with each other? So, for example, I am connecting with you now because both of us are, because look what you just did, you mirrored me, right? So I sat forward to connect with you and you immediately sat forward to come closer to me. We're looking at each other's eyes, our heads are tilted in the same way, right? But if you were to start talking to Zoe now, you would just be as you were,
Are you feeling like it?
I feel like a third wheel right now.
Right, exactly, because you feel excluded because there's no, you know, you can hear the communication, but there's no connection. So we sit next to each other, but there's no connection with each other. So it's about really moving and letting the person know, I see you, I notice you. And if we had better connection, we wouldn't turn to devices for connection, because that's the reason people get online.
Or validation.
Is because they feel so alone and so terrified and disconnected from a partner. And life, that getting online, in a heartbeat, you've got somebody saying, hey, you look great, or I really like you. I mean, you know, it's crazy, huh?
Yeah, stroke that
Well,
ego.
Dr. Eve, please stay around. She's not going anywhere. We
So
are continuing our conversation around cyber infidelity on your Feel Good Breakfast Show. And if you'd love to weigh in, that WhatsApp line is open. Feel free to send through your voice notes.
It's my Feel Good Breakfast Show.
Welcome back as we continue what has been a very interesting discussion around infidelity. And we turn to cyber cheating now, cyber infidelity. Every couple has alternative perspectives, I think, in terms of what is cheating or lying, even for that matter. Therefore, the term affair and infidelity encompasses a wide range of behaviors. We are back with one of our favorites, and we are continuing the conversation of cyber infidelity and the trauma associated with this type of infidelity. And taking us through it is clinical sexologist, relationship expert, and author Marlene Wasserman, otherwise known as Dr. Eve, who specializes in cyber infidelity and intimacy trauma, with a peak interest in contemporary intimacies and modern love. We want you to join the conversation. Please send us that WhatsApp voice note, 0634088863.
Now, Dr. Eve, when it comes to finding out your partner has been unfaithful emotionally or in a cyberspace by perhaps seeing something on their phone, that can cause a lot of trauma. How does one deal with that trauma and move forward, or just deal with it and approach your partner?
It's absolutely horrifying for somebody when they find that out, and that's why it's different from finding out that somebody's actually been sexual with a real person outside of their home. Here, there is a discovery of writing, of videos, of text messaging, of a part of the person that they don't know. So here, we all have different parts, all of us, and you are presenting a certain part of you to your marriage partner or your significant partner all the time. And yet when we get online, we have the freedom to be expressing ourselves in a very different way. So when the partner sees this part of you that they never get, they don't know the flirtatious part of you, or they don't know that you're in emotional pain, or that you're having financial difficulties, things that you can discuss anonymously with somebody online who you don't meet or may never meet. You're not sharing that part of you with your partner. Or you may be somebody who has very low sexual interest to be sexual with your significant partner, but online they find all these videos of you, all the sexy chat that you've been doing, and they feel quite devastated and betrayed and traumatized that suddenly the person that they're living with is a stranger to them.
Whole different person, yeah.
And they don't know who they are. And that's what upsets them the most. It's like, who are you? And in fact, has our whole relationship just been a fraud? Because their world shatters, the ground opens up beneath them, and they feel as if they've been living this lie themselves. And then they start blaming themselves. Why didn't I know about it? Or what have I done that's wrong? Or why does he need somebody else? Or why does he need another sexual experience other than what I'm providing? So it becomes incredibly traumatizing and confusing and disorientating for the person who discovers. And people, viewers need to know that you're always going to be found out, because people have a way of feeling the disconnect from their partner. The partner's always on their phone or hiding their phone away, and they feel that disconnect, and then they're going to go and search, which is an invasion of your privacy. So the boundaries get crossed, and the relationship becomes really taut and tense.
That's why they call it an entanglement, because it's so tangly. We've got some voice notes coming through, so thank you so much for that. Alison actually weighed in with her comment this morning. Let's hear.
Hi, I am Alison from the Free State. Cheating to me is when your partner is looking, being with somebody else, thinking with somebody else besides you as their partner, talking to them, flirting with them.
That's it.
Alison,
She was like, nope,
sorry.
that's it. I can't stomach anymore. I'm done. Then I was dying for an anonymous this morning, because that, it's going to be juicy. Anonymous weighed in with a voice note as well.
Good morning, Expresso. Over the years of dating, I have experienced a lot in relationships I've had. And for me, it's basically that men will never be satisfied with what they have. They will always have a wandering eye. But the problem is not the wandering eye, it is the wandering mind. So cheating also starts in the mind, and then from there they decide if they want it to manifest or not.
It's such a difficult space. I mean, everyone has to use the language that they need to understand it based on their own experience. And I think that's where it begins and ends. And I think being in a relationship with a gorgeous dancer, I've had to come to terms with the fact that I don't own her. She is putting herself out there, dancing so beautifully, so that people will look at her and appreciate her. So what now? I must go and walk around that crowd, every guy that's looking at her. What are you thinking, buddy? What's going through your mind right now? Because this is the space, and it does get me incensed, because where does that line begin and end? And who takes ultimate responsibility for that? It's your head, your thoughts, your responsibility, surely.
So Graham, once again, we grew up in a society that says if you are with somebody, you've got to be only thinking about that person and your
Which
mind.
is impossible, surely.
Absolutely, absolutely. It's absolutely impossible. But what I'm hearing, because both of those voice messages were around, you know, the mind wanders. There is this societal belief you only should have me on your mind. I should be the only one that you're thinking about. You're the only one that you're fantasizing in a sexual space with. And that's not true. What perhaps bothers people is that I don't feel your mind is on me enough. And that's a huge difference. You know, our mind does wander, and it's wonderful to have appreciation of other people. And it's wonderful to be able to admire other people. But if you're feeling neglected by your partner, you're going to pick up on that way more, and you're going to feel the insult of that. So rather focus on what can I do to improve the connection between my partner and I, rather than spend time. And you can see how my body just reacted like, oh, no, you're not allowed to think or wonder about anybody else. It's like, you can't help that. But what can I do to make us more connected so that you are more focused and pleasured here? And also just to say, you know, it's not only men whose minds and eyes wander. Huh? I mean, let's not be sexist here. There is all of us. He, they, she, they.
Yeah, look, the stats in SA are pretty revealing on all accounts, I think.
Yeah, we all wonder. You know, we all wonder. So we want to be able to have enough understanding and communication with your partner to be, even for you to be able to say, you know, I really feel a little uncomfortable when everyone's looking at you, and I need some more from you. I need some more kind of warmth or hugging or reassurance that I'm the one, you know.
You can dance with everyone else. Just look at me while you're doing it, okay? That's all I'm asking, all right? Absolutely love it.
Yeah.
Oh, Dr. Eve, thank you for joining us this morning.
Thank you for having
and,
me.
you know, shedding some light and, of course, giving us some ways on how to deal with that trauma that comes with cyber infidelity. Thank you. Well, Dr. Eve joined us on your Feel Good Breakfast show as we continue talking all things truth and lies.